So hello and welcome to Dommy Tries This. I hope you brought your cuppa. Today's coffee mug is my Meow the Force Be With You Jedi mug that my husband got me from Dragon Con last year. And today's tea is the Organic India Tulsi Cinnamon Rose. This is from my Sips by last month, I think. Might have been the month before. I still have old teas from them because I'm still, drinking them. Get new teas and yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this a sip and we'll go ahead and get started with our whole and healthy Wednesday. Oh, that's good. That is really good. I think I applied just a touch too much sugar, but it is really good. I love a good tea bag that gives me all the flavor, even in my big cups. Today we are going to talk about some basics about food, just some basic things. So this will probably be a fairly short video, maybe. Before we get on with that, though, we got to do our new and our old. The new is going to be the Urban Decay Elements palette. I am still playing around with this, although I am almost ready to film my review for it. My old, again, relatively, is the Violet Voss The Rainbow palette. This was a gift from my middle daughter. And the rest, well, it's probably going to be a little bit of Ipsy and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. This look is going to be based on a look that people saw earlier and really, really liked. So it's going to be just a little bit different, mostly because I'm using the Elements palette instead of a different palette. So the colors are going to be slightly different. Not too different, just a little bit. Getting started with one of my favorite brushes now. Guys should be getting really familiar. I'm going to dig into Ego and put that below my brow, and I'm probably going to go over it with Luna. Let's see if we can get Luna to lighten it up just a touch. Basics about food. Well, when I first started, I was looking at everything. I was looking at sugar. I was looking at salt. I was looking at protein. I don't look at all that anymore. I do try to watch my calories a bit. Not nearly as much as I used to because I'm trying to build muscle rather than lose weight. If you're trying to lose weight, calories are going to be the thing. Because to lose weight, you have to eat less than what you burn in activity. Now, I know a lot of people say that's not necessarily true. Yes, that is true. It will vary some on your individual metabolism, but yes, that is true. I am going to try to lighten this, I think. A lot of people say, well, watching calories didn't help me much until I got onto such and such diet. First of all, most of us are terrible at recording and being accurate about what we eat. So more than likely, if less calories didn't work, you weren't doing less calories than what you were burning. That's not always true. There are people with certain disorders that make losing weight very hard for various reasons. I'm going to try some Luna over this, try to lighten it up. So that's the first thing. The second thing is any diet that you get on that sits there and says it's the miracle cure, no matter what it cuts out, no matter what it keeps, is reducing the amount of calories that you're eating one way or another. Honestly, theoretically, you could lose weight eating nothing but McDonald's hamburgers. You just have to be more active than what you're eating. So if you're eating 2,000 calories of hamburgers, which is insanely easy to do, some of the calories I've seen for hamburgers have run anywhere from 500 to almost 2,000 calories, depending on where you go and what the hamburger is. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Violet Voss. And this is what I'm going to do. This is what I did last time. So this color Buttercup will go all the way across my lid. And then I will go over on the outside with this color Peach. They're beautiful, beautiful colors. So anyway, yes, if you can actually lose weight on hamburgers. It would be hard to do, but you can do it. And any diet that is new to you and all of a sudden you're losing weight, it has found a way for you to control your calorie intake. That's all it is. Because when it comes right down to it, losing weight is all about your calorie intake. So you can eat the most unhealthy diet in the world and lose weight. The basics is calories in, calories out. Anything after that depends on certain individual things. If you want to go gluten-free, you can. Okay? Just don't think that just because you went gluten-free, you're losing weight. Somehow, whatever you're eating, you have reduced your calories. And unless you're a celiac, I think that's it. You have celiac? I think that's it. You don't have to go gluten-free to lose weight. You are not required to be gluten-free. It is a choice. Same for reducing your carbs. The low-carb diet was actually developed for diabetics. So unless you're a diabetic, you don't have to go low-carb to lose weight. You can lose weight by accurately tracking your food on a regular diet. So, just want to get that out of the way. I know that's going to piss people off, some people. There are individual differences. And I did stall out. Menopause will mess you up. It will change your metabolism. I noticed it has changed the way I react to certain foods. I've noticed that there are foods that I can't eat, not because I'll gain weight, but because my body reacts badly to them in other ways. Some of that has to do with the fact that we have been eating healthy for a long time, for the most part. So fast food cheeseburgers, I have to decide if I'm willing to put up with the issues that they give me if I want one. Using the same brush to go into that peach. So the basics are food in, energy out. That's what helps determine how you lose weight or whether or not you lose weight. That's just the plain basics of it. That's it. Beyond that, some basics on food and determining what to eat and how to eat. Some of that's going to be up to you. I mean, if you don't like fruit, then, it's going to be harder for you to decide to eat fruit, right? I told you this would be simple. But I'm a believer in a basic diet that takes from all food groups, that doesn't cut food out of your diet completely. I mean, unless you want to. If you decide that you don't want to eat sugar, that's up to you. Just be aware that everything you eat is going to have some amount of sugar in it. Everything you eat is going to have some amount of carbohydrates in it. If you're everything you eat has almost everything you eat has some kind of protein in it. Now, if you decide to go vegetarian, which means, no meat whatsoever, if you're going to not eat any meat, no eggs, no cheese, no, like I said, no actual meat, no fish, you have to get the protein in other ways because your body needs it. So you have to start eating beans and rice and things like that in certain combinations. Going that hard onto vegetarianism, you really need to take a look at how to combine foods so that you get everything your body needs. My husband and I are eating less meat, but we eat meat a couple times a week. So we are still getting our protein. I'm getting protein. I'm eating a yogurt right now. I eat Greek yogurt because it has a higher protein content in it. So there are ways to get your protein in but that's a dairy. And if you're going to go that hardcore where you're not going to eat animal products at all, you really need to make sure to check up on plants and seeds and beans and things like that will give you the protein you need. So that would be the one major caution that I would say about dieting and choosing your diet, is to make sure that you're getting everything you need. You need something from fats. You need some carbohydrates. You need some sugars. You need protein. You need all of these things to function. And also, from personal experience, I would say to make sure that you get iron. I am severely anemic because I didn't get enough iron for a long time. I will be on iron pills for the rest of my life. So there are things that you have to watch out for, things that you have to make sure that you get, because they will affect your quality of life if you don't. We are going to go with Lioness, which is turning out to be one of my favorite colors in this palette. And we're going to put that in our crease and out like I do. Okay, so when you're determining food, the first thing is to make sure that you are getting, enough of each food group. And I personally prefer the oldest pyramid that I've ever recall seeing, which basically had fruits and vegetables on the bottom, I believe. Yeah, it had fruits and vegetables on the bottom, then bread and protein, and then the last one was fats, and I can't remember what the other one was. There was another one, probably desserts or something like that, sweets. But that's what I believe in terms of what a healthy diet is. And I still believe that to this day. I also mix in, like I've said before, I mix in the Mediterranean. And we mix in, because of my husband's cooking, we also put in Latin on ours a bit. And those basically just change, what's actually in those particular sections. Mediterranean for meat relies primarily on fish and stuff like that. So I try to get vegetables in every meal. I try to go easy on red meat and eat more fish. We try to eat fruit, but fruit is one of those things that's really hard to get into our diet over here. Working on it. We try to go whole grain. I think it's very important to go whole grain. When you have things like white rice, you're going to get the carb and you're going to get the starch, but the part of the rice that has the proteins and other things in it that really gives it its nutritional value have been taken off, and that's how you get the white rice. So we eat we're starting to eat more brown rice. We've just started to eat brown rice. We had it for the first time in a while, and I was like, oh God, now I remember why I missed this. Brown rice has a bit more chew to it, and it's really good, really. We are still eating white potatoes, but we also now eat sweet potatoes, which also have more nutrition than white potatoes. We try to get whole wheat or whole grain breads, or we make our whole grain breads. And things like that. So whole grain versus white stuff. Now, I understand that that's more expensive, but for your health, it's more important. And I was going to say, I missed it earlier, was going to say, the two things, I said I watched all of those categories before. Now I only watch two things. I watch fiber and I watch protein. Both of them help keep you full. The protein is required for muscle. And the fiber is also what helps you go better in the restroom. So next, I'm going to trying to remember what I did, because I think the other thing I did, because this is a somewhat neutral, almost neutral palette on me. I know I added color and I just don't remember what I did. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I think I still have been playing around with some of these duochromes that I've been having trouble with. So I think I'm going to take the Silver Burn and put that in my crease to darken it up. It's supposed to be kind of duochromy. I don't know if it will. Anyway, so when you're shopping, you're going to want to look at the label. This is also kind of important because I think a lot of people look at the label, say, okay, this has what I need in it, and then they grab it, and then when they eat it, they don't even pay attention to how much they're eating of it. You need to not only look at what it contains. Yeah, this is not helping me that much. I think I put a blue in there, so I'm going to put a blue in there in a minute. Go over this with a blue. You need to pay attention to your serving size. That's part of the reason we've had so much trouble with, I think, with some obesity. Although I did recently read an article that said that part of the reason that people are starting to have trouble losing weight is entirely environmental. It has no, and not even environmental in the terms of how you were raised in your home life or even genetics. It has to do with the fact that there's been changes in the Earth's environment that's changing us. I thought that was interesting. I'll have to look that up and maybe link it down below. So when you're shopping and actually that worked out real nice. The grayish of the other one sort of tamed down the blue a bit, and the two combined are a really nice color. I think they're working out really nice together. I like that. Okay. So anyway, you need to pay attention to everything on the label. The things that you're watching, which in my case would be the protein and the fiber. And you need to pay attention to serving size. Because if you're trying to avoid a lot of sugar and you like something and you're not paying attention to the serving size, and then you decide to get something that, you know, you want to eat, you may not realize how much sugar you're putting in because maybe you're eating twice as much as what is a single serving. Those labels are per serving. And I know they seem hard to read. There we go, a little blue underneath, and we're going to do something different in a minute. I know they seem hard to read, but they aren't really. So you're going to have, the calories will be the biggest number, and somewhere either above or below it, it will tell you what the serving size is. So it'll say 5 chips or half a cup, or the ones I hate, 30 grams. I'm old. I don't want to go to metrics. I hated metrics as a kid. I don't. But anyway, 30 grams, stuff like that. That'll tell you what the serving size is. And then it'll, you know, you'll have your calories, and then below that it'll have a list of your basics. It'll have a total fat, there's some sort of fat, percentage of fat per calories or something like that. Saturated fat, then sometimes it'll list other fats like polyunsaturated and all of those. It'll have your carbohydrates, your sugar, your protein, and there's a couple of your fats and your sodium, and a few other things in there. And those will tell you the things per serving. Those numbers may not mean anything to you unless you're targeting something. So for example, I'm targeting 100, I think it's 100 grams. I know it's 100 of protein a day. I don't always get there. Like yesterday, I think I got to 70 something. Don't always get there, but that is my target. And it actually should be higher because I'm trying to build muscle. And I just realized how crooked my ears are, but that's okay. So since I'm targeting 100, I check for high protein sources. So like the Greek yogurt I showed you, This has 12 grams. That's a high protein. 10 and higher is what works for me. And I know I'm going to get some sort of primarily protein source at dinner, hopefully. Usually, we do beans, we do rice, we do fish, we do things for dinner that tends to make it higher in protein. Same thing for fiber. I look at fiber because fiber will be on that list. I look at fiber, and honestly, fiber seems to be the hardest thing to get in foods. Like I eat, they're not meal plan replacement bars, but they're like snack bars. The Kind, Luna, there's Think Thin, there's a few others. So there's snack food bars. And I eat those, and I have noticed that getting 9 to 10 grams of fiber in one of those is very, very difficult for some reason. So I'm going to take this blue-green heavy water, and that's going to do the inner part. If you know, I went with the blue underneath. I'm going to do this inner part in heavy water. So pay attention to those, to your labels. And in fact, I'm going to take this heavy water all the way out and out. Because that's pretty. And then we're going to go, this is something I've been doing lately. So we're going to go all the way out. If you notice, I've gone past my brow. And then I'm going to go slightly above where I have the darker part of my crease color, and I'm only going to go a little bit in, but I'm going to go along that edge and do a little bit going out there too. And then I'm going to fill in any spots in the middle. It'll honestly look better when I'm done. It looks kind of freaky now, but it's something I've been doing lately and I've been enjoying it. Okay, so that's the first part. You need to pay attention to your labels. You need to make sure that you pay attention to what a serving size is. And then, particularly if you're trying to lose weight, you need to measure your food. It's a pain in the butt. But you need to measure your food. You need to have some sort of food scale, because eyeballing it, you will eat more every time. I'm a cook. My husband's a chef. We do a lot of from scratch cooking in our household, and we still don't get food 100%. I'm going to take a little bit more of that lioness, and you'll see there's a tiny little gap between the green and the red, and I'm going to fill that in right there so they match, or they meet. So there's no holes. And my neighbor is upstairs being loud, so if we start hearing some of that, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna clean these up. We're gonna continue talking because I'm not quite done. I thought this would be short. Okay, so you need to measure your food, because you will underestimate the number of calories and overestimate the amount of food, if that makes sense. And as a result, you will end up eating more, especially if you're losing weight. If you're like me and you're just tracking things like your protein and all of that, and you're not being overly concerned about weight because you're trying to build muscle, then you just want to track your protein or your fiber or whatever it is you're trying to track. If you need to keep your carbs down, then that's what you're tracking, and diabetics do that all the time. They know to keep their sugars and carbs down. But in general, okay, so Gambit likes to sleep on top of paper. So every time you hear that, if you hear that rustling in the background, it's him getting on his paper to lay down and take his nap. You know, if you're just starting out too, this is the NYX Hydra Touch Studio Photogenic Concealer Corrector. It's old and new. I've used it before, but that's a new bottle. I got it before I decided to start phasing out color correctors. Anyway, you may want to start off by just eating what you eat to see where your calorie intake actually is, but you're going to want to measure everything you eat regardless. So the first thing about food, basics of food, is eat from all food groups if you can, for your health, unless there's a reason that you shouldn't. I mean, an actual physical reason that you shouldn't, you know, you're diabetic, so you have to keep your carbs down, or, you know, you're gluten intolerant, so, or something like that. If you have an allergy, if you have certain reactions, you're obviously going to want to not eat the thing that's going to make you sick. But for most of us, this shouldn't be an issue. It really shouldn't. I mean, yeah, you can make the personal choice to go vegetarian, so you're not going to eat meat. Or you can make the personal choice to go gluten-free or reduce your carbs. Those are personal choices. Second thing you're going to want to do is make sure to read your labels. Make sure that when you're determining how much you're eating, you're saying what's on the label for a serving. Because that's the only way to know exactly the calories you're eating. Third thing you're going to want to do, again, to verify that you're eating what you say you're eating, is to measure and weigh your food. It is the Martin Luther King holiday, so people are home, and my upstairs neighbor, one of the upstairs neighbors, there are 4 people in there, I think, and 3 of them are perfectly quiet. I'm sure you can hear him in the background. He's always noisy. He's thudding and stuff. I apologize for my neighbor who doesn't know how loud he's being, probably hasn't paid attention to it. But yes, if you're hearing a lot of noise in the background, he's home. We're going to have a lot of this going on in the future, I think. Some tips if you're trying to lose weight: use a smaller plate. Our plates have gotten bigger over the years, so just use a smaller plate. And that should help reduce the amount, because you can't put as much on a smaller plate. But I think that's pretty much it. I just wanted to talk about those basics, making sure you're getting enough of everything. The best way, probably, to start something totally different or to figure out your diet is to find one of those food pyramids and use it as a guide. And then make sure that that's what you buy and that's what you eat. Problem is, I have a hard time talking when he's talking. I don't know why. And I shouldn't. I really shouldn't. This is too weird. I completely lost all train of thought because he's so loud up there. If you're tracking for like muscle gain, you can worry about calories, but I wouldn't worry about them as much. I would just try to replace some of your calories with more high protein kinds of things. But in generally, the basics about food are eat from all the food groups, eat sweets and things in moderation, weigh and measure if you're trying to lose weight, track whatever it is you need to track for your health or for your muscle growth. So, you know, like diabetics have to track their carbs and sugars, or at least their sugars, and you know, stuff like that. And I, as someone who's trying to build muscle, need to track my protein because my protein needs to be higher. Gonna need to, if you're trying to lose weight, you're going to need to make sure that you're burning more than what you eat. So one of the ways to do that is through like a health watch or a Fitbit. I use, this is my Fitbit. It says I have done 1,426 calories, right? Steps. My heartbeat was at 77. And so far I've burned almost 1,200 calories today. This is very useful. This is a Charge HR2. It does have a band that goes with it. I've chosen to take the band off. I tuck it up against my, in my bra. This one, because it's an HR watch, it covers my heart rate, which gives it a more accurate accounting of the calories I burn. However, it's not going to be 100% accurate. We all have different metabolisms. That's just a given. So those are the basics that I can think of right now. Obviously, if I think of more later, I will. I've been completely thrown off by this. I am going to go finish my face. So here's our almost finished look. And the reason I say almost finished is because we are going to take some of this, and my eyes are already starting to go, I can feel it, some of the heavy water, and we're going to re-emphasize those lines, sharpen them up a bit. I always tend to lose the color underneath after I've done all my foundation. And of course our foundation went across here, so I'm going to bring that back out. And then we're going to do our top line again. Put in just a little deeper. Bring those out like that. Do it on the other side. And there you go, we're done. Mostly, I think. I'm having some trouble with my inner eyes again, but there we go. Always having trouble with my inner eye. Today has been bad. I can feel it melting off. But anyway, so there is our finished look. This is also the first video with my new butcher cut. I literally took my hair up, used the back layer to determine where to cut, and just cut straight across. Not the best way to cut your hair, but it definitely brought out more curl, wouldn't you say? Anyway, so to get back to our discussion, very quickly, I'm sorry, the neighbors kind of threw me off there. We'll get back to it another time. I'm sure I'll be talking about food for a while now, because food takes, like I said earlier, food is one of those passionate things for us that we cling on to, and it seems to be one of the things that we end up having the most trouble discussing, I guess, and being sane about. I'm having trouble being sane about my hair. So what I wanted to say, we already covered the basics. I did talk about the basics and gave you the 3 or 4 or 5 steps of you know, what to think about when you're determining your diet in the future. Use those things, particularly the part about making sure to get all of your food groups, to help you determine if any diet that you're going to buy into is actually a healthy diet. If it wants you to deny food that you do not need to deny, if you do not need to deny carbs, or you do not need to deny protein or whatever, sugars, whatever, then rethink it. Because the thing about these diets is they're selling you the basic principle of eat less, move more. But they're trying to sell it to you by denying you things that you don't probably need to be denied. You just need to focus on that balance if you're trying to lose. Now, like I said, I'm no longer trying to lose, so that's not a issue for me. For me is making sure I'm getting protein. But that's one of the ways to judge if a diet is really going to work for you, or if a diet is really going to, anything really new, because diets throughout history, or throughout the time that we've had our diet culture, where you know, the diet industry has become like this huge money-making thing, there's always been denial of something. And also make sure it's not like a one-trick pony. I mean, you know, ages ago they had what they call the cabbage soup diet, where you were supposed to eat cabbage soup once or twice a day, and then you could have a meal or whatever. If you're eating, that's a fad diet, and that's an unhealthy diet. So you want to make sure that your diet is giving you what you need, and is something you can follow. That's a very big thing. If it's something that's going to change your eating habits to something that you cannot follow. For example, I would love to get off sweets, but I happen to know myself well enough to know that actually trying to cut them out entirely would never ever work for me. Ever. I would end up at some point eating a bunch of sweets and then feeling like crap about myself. And that's just not what this should be about. Whole and healthy is whole in the sense of whole in spirit, whole in confidence, whole in self. It's more than about a healthy diet. It's more than about a healthy weight. It's more than about any of that. It's also about being comfortable with yourself, knowing yourself, accepting yourself, loving yourself, regardless of where you're at, and not kicking yourself for making a mistake. So if I were on a low sugar or a no sugar diet, I would probably feel like shit most of the time, because that would be a problem for me, which is another reason why I'm not really focusing on losing weight. I don't want to have to cut out things that I enjoy, and you shouldn't have to either. So when you're evaluating a diet that you want to try, just make sure it's something you can live with. It is really easy to get hooked onto the new and shiny thing and think that you can do it, but really sit and evaluate before you invest in it. If it's just, something you find online where you can sit there and go, okay, so this is saying that I need to eat less fruit. And you don't need a cookbook for that. Or you don't need their program thing, or you don't, whatever. Then that is one thing that you can go ahead and try for a little bit and see how it works. But if it's something that's going to require you to go, okay, so here's your week 1, you have to pay $10 for week 1. Okay, now week 2, we're going to do something a little different. You got to pay $10 for week 2. To me, honestly, that's a money grab more than anything. And you're not going to really learn that much new, and you're going to be denying yourself food based on a diet that you don't know anything about, other than what they're trying to tell you, and that you may find out is nothing different anyway. So just evaluate your diets and your things carefully. Make sure they're healthy. Remember the tips that I just gave. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I hope you like what you've seen, and I hope that it helps. That's one of the biggest things that I want for all of my dragynettes. And if you are not subscribed, I hope you will subscribe. And if you do subscribe, please hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload. I upload 4 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. And so yeah, hopefully you will join us. And in the summer I have an additional upload. I just haven't figured out where I'm putting it yet. And if you're already part of the notification squad, you want to check your bell still and all of that. If you decide not to subscribe, well, we'd be sad, but hopefully you'll come back again, because you're always welcome at Dommy's Casa. And when you do come back again, don't forget to bring your cup of tea. That's actually really good cold. Yeah, that's really good cold. You all have a great day.